Taylor Swift is exactly who you think she is. Let's talk about it. By the way, I'm KJ Miller. I'm a founder, lecturer, and content creator. I love talking about all things pop culture, business, and beauty. If you like any of that, be sure to subscribe. Now let's chat about Ms. Swift. So first of all, this is quite obviously going to be a video all about the life of a showgirl and everything that we have been discussing in the world around this album. I will say I debated whether or not I wanted to make a YouTube video about this album and the discourse around it because I've talked about it at length on other platforms. I've talked about it a lot on my podcast, Two Queens, Two Crowns. I encourage you to check that out if you haven't. I've also talked a lot about it on my TikTok channel at @Iam_KJ Miller. Follow me if you haven't. So I've put a lot of thoughts into the world. And if I were going to summarize them here, part one is I love the album. I think it's a fantastic album. Part two is I'm finding a lot of the discourse to be befuddling. If I were just going to summarize, but you can get into more of that if you want to check it out on those channels. What I want to do here is kind of talk through one, why I think this album is so successful. We'll call that part one of the video, which I don't know if I've really gotten into that on my other platforms, the way that I'm kind of thinking through it now. So that'll be part one. And then part two will be yes, about the discourse, the hashtag discourse, the Taylor Swift is an unethical billionaire, MAGA, trad wife, racist who only cares about money and cash grabs. And this album is so terrible because of blah, blah, blah. She's been lazy. She's been this. I mean, yes, that, but I want to talk about it from the perspective of what I think it says about some of you. Not in a judgmental way, just in a, hey, I'm a person observing and thinking thoughts, and I'm going to share those thoughts. So that's roughly how this video is going to play out, and we'll see what comes out along the way. So let's start with part one, which is why I think this album is so successful. And yes, I do think it is a very successful album. And I would argue, despite not everyone, but despite the number of people saying it's such a bad album, it is performing on the charts in such a way that would lead me to believe a lot of people really genuinely love this album. Are there people Taylor Swift fans who just press play on the album and let it play for 24 hours a day? I'm sure there are. I'm sure those people exist, who just really, really, really want to run up the numbers in Taylor's favor. I think those people are very few and far between. I think the fact that 3 weeks in, she still is taking up, I think it's 5 of the top 10 spots on the Billboard charts, I think speaks to the fact that a lot of people are streaming, a lot of people are listening, a lot of people are requesting it on the radio stations. I think that's a fact. So if you're not someone who enjoys the album musically, that's fine. But I don't think we can say it is not successful. And part of the reason I think it is so successful, as I was thinking about it, to me, this album lives in a very similar space as Katy Perry's Teenage Dream, which is funny to say because obviously they had their little feud back in the day. But Teenage Dream, I think, will forever go down as one of the most quintessential pop albums. Every song is an earworm. Every song makes you want to sing along kind of instantly. And I do believe that that is what Taylor has achieved with this album. I have seen plenty of people say, even though I don't like it, it is catchy as hell. I might not like Honey, but I keep singing along to it. I might not enjoy the lyrics to Wishlist, but goddamn, I can't help humming it when I'm in the shower, whatever. So even the people who don't like it, a lot of them acknowledge it's catchy as hell. And I would say giving us an entire album of extremely catchy, extremely earwormy songs is actually not something you see that many 35-year-old pop stars still achieving. It's also not something I would say you see that many 35-year-old pop stars still attempting to do. I do think if I think about the other artists in their sort of late 30s, early 40s who I listen to, I would say they have largely stepped away from trying to mostly create the catchy earworms, right? Of course, I'm thinking Beyonce, I'm thinking Sarah Bareilles, I'm thinking Pink, I'm thinking Kelly Clarkson, I'm thinking Alanis Morissette. Is Alanis still putting out new music? I don't know the answer to that, but I feel like a lot of these other artists have shifted their focus to really thinking about, storytelling more so than what's the catchiest version of a song I can put out. And you can make your own conclusions about whether or not one goal is better than the other. I don't tend to think so. I think Taylor, one of her goals was to make extremely catchy music, and I think she succeeded. And I think part of the reason that is so successful right now is, if anyone else in the world is like me, distraction is the name of the game. Distraction is the name of the motherfucking game. The world is so bleak. We are quite literally living in a fascist regime. And so we need ways to occupy our time. I just finished watching Scandal. So now what am I supposed to do? Tell you what, listen to Life of a Showgirl, because you press play and you just, you want to sing along. Keep it 100 on the land. Mm-mm. I mean, every song gets you in a mood. All of that bitch I wish on a falling star, but you touch my face. Every groove, every melody is infectious. There aren't, I don't think, that many artists who have been around for as long as Taylor has been around still delivering on that. And I think that is why this album is as successful as it is. And I would actually go a step further and to say, for me, I think it'll go down as being more successful than A Teenage Dream. And again, I think Teenage Dream is like top of the top in terms of like amazing pop albums, because I do feel like Taylor is also still being vulnerable. We are still learning about her in this album in a way I don't know I would say about Teenage Dream. I feel like it's a Teenage Dream. Katy Perry put out an amazing pop album, but I don't know how much more any of us feel like we learned about Katy Perry as a result of that album, other than she's super fun and is good at putting out a fun song. I actually think we're learning a lot about Taylor in this album, and I think that's part of the reason a lot of people have experienced a lot of angst with this album, because what it is they are learning is not going over well with them. And that, we'll get into that a little bit more in part 2. But I do feel like she is still sharing about herself. Some of what we're learning, number one, and I don't know why this confused anybody, this girl still loves being in love. She wants to be in love almost more than anything else. I say almost because she did let us know she would not trade the Cartier for a man. She is still capitalist in chief, honey, but she still wants to be in love. She has not given up on that idea. It is still monumentally important to her. Yes, she's been the number one pop star. Yes, she's a billionaire. Yes, she bought back her masters. Yes, she went on the biggest tour of all time. Yes, she's a businesswoman, so on and so forth. And yet what she wants is a good man, Savannah. I mean, it's just so plainly true. And she's not trying to hide it. She's not trying to sugarcoat it. In fact, she's trying to make it as clear to you people as possible. I want to be in love. When Travis called me out on his megaphone, on his podcast, that was the day my life was saved. Okay. I was good and in the grave, just like Ophelia. Here he comes, pulled me right on out. Can you imagine? Can you imagine being as rich and powerful and successful as Taylor Allison Swift and saying, I was quite literally dead until this man came and digmatized me? Wow, 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 wow. You have to love it. You have to love her being willing to be that honest about the fact that this is important to me. You guys are going to judge me for it. You guys are going to say now I'm trad wife and I'm MAGA, blah, blah, blah. But the truth is I wanted that man. I got that man. Now that I have that man, I am happier. This is what I prefer. I prefer to be with this man versus being not with this man. When I was not with this man, I thought I was cursed. the entire prophecy, all of the world was up against me. I wanted to throw myself off of rocks, dreaming about suicide. I mean, she didn't like it, folks. She did not like being single. Oh, she didn't. She hated it. She hated it. Okay. So we are continuing to learn. This is someone who desperately, deeply wants to be in love and is very, very happy that she is in love, regardless of how that makes you feel about her. The other thing we learned, Taylor always has and always will hold a grudge, and she will always view herself as at least a little bit of an underdog. Maybe even a little bit of a victim. That's a narrative I've seen a lot of people say. They're tired of Taylor playing the victim when she is clearly the most famous person in the world. Like, how is she still upset over stuff that happened in 2016? Or how is she still going on and on about Scooter Braun when, like, girl, you got the Masters. You're not the victim anymore. I think what we have known for quite a while, in Taylor's mind, she is still the victim. Victim might be strong, but certainly she is still the wronged party in a number of instances. And if she feels wronged, she's going to feel wronged forever. And she's going to sing about it forever. And she knows, believe me when I say she knows, y'all are sick of that, because y'all have been telling her you're sick of it since forever. Since, 3 weeks after Kanye kicked her off the VMA stage in 2009, y'all let her know we're about done with this victim shit. She knows you don't like it and she doesn't care. In her mind, she is the aggrieved party and she needs to sing about it. We hear it on Canceled. We hear it on Father Figure. We hear it on Actually Romantic. If she feels aggrieved in some way, you're going to hear about it. It doesn't matter that she's a billionaire. It doesn't matter that she is extremely successful. If she feels wronged, honey, she's holding on to that. I remember when I heard Cassandra on TTPD, and very honestly, I was like, okay, girl, now, is it about time? Is it about time we wrap it up, Tay? We get it. You were wronged. You were wronged and you were proven to have been wronged. Now, did she have a little bit of revisionist history? I don't want to talk about it. The point is, girl, at least that was my reaction. Like, I get it. I got it. We got it. But again, Taylor has long let us know when she feels aggrieved, she feels aggrieved forever. And she's going to sing about it. And she still feels aggrieved about any number of things. Father Figure, I think, is an amalgamation of things. I think, does it have a little bit to do with like the Olivia Rodrigos of the world? Sure. Does it have to do with Scooter Braun and Scott Borchetta and them? Sure. Does it have to do with some other folks who pissed her off who we don't even know about? Yes, I believe it does. Actually, Romantic, I think, has to do with Charlie XCX, but probably also any number of other girls in the industry who have been talking shit about her for years and years and years, guys too. I think Canceled, she still sees herself as having been canceled, even though I think it would be really very hard to argue that Taylor ever actually was genuinely canceled. Okay. Because shortly after her quote unquote cancellation, she went on the Reputation tour, which was the highest selling tour of all time up until that moment. So, words mean things. And I think it would be hard to argue that she was ever actually canceled. However, yes, she went through a terrible time in public at the hands of Kim and Kanye, and the leaked audio that they put out that was heavily edited to make it look a certain type of way. Like, all of these things are true. And she will not ever forget it. She will not ever forgive it. And anyone expecting her to have grown past all that, no. She's not interested in that. Which I do find funny. She's not interested in that. She's like, listen, these are my songs, okay? I sing about what I want to sing about. And I want to sing still today, 9 years later, about that shit you did to me. And while I'm at it, I'm going to sing about this shit that you're doing to my homegirls. And I think knowing that about Taylor, again, it is something I think we've known for quite a long time. Her being willing to double, triple, quadruple down on that is something we are continuing to learn and understand about her. She is petty. She does not forgive and forget. That is the thing we know about her, right? So we know she loves love. We know when she's not in love, she feels like she is quite literally in the grave. We know that she is petty and she holds on to every last grudge till her dying day. And these are things that I think are being reinforced on this album and making people upset, which is a little confusing to me because I feel like these are things we have known, but I think it's like this album is like hammering them home for people in a way that maybe prior albums didn't. The other thing we learned in this album, she is getting, I don't want to phrase this. She's getting it. She's getting it in. She's getting it in. And based on what she has shared, it sounds like this has been life-changing for her in a way that makes me think the others that came before were not up to the task quite the same way Travis is. Hey, that's a thing I didn't know. That's a thing I did not know. Now I do know. So I'm just saying I am still learning things about Taylor, even though this is like a quintessential pop album. So that is what I think also sets it apart from like a Teenage Dream that was an amazing pop album, but didn't really teach me that much about Katy Perry. I think I'm learning more about Taylor. I think that's a feat, to have the goal of creating something as infectious as all of these songs are, but still say, and it's still going to be 100% me, including all the parts I know y'all don't like. And I bet you're going to dance anyway. And you know what? She's not wrong. She is not wrong. She is not wrong. All I've been doing is dancing and listening to these songs. So that is why, a fraction of why I think this album is so successful. Yes, it's infectious. Yes, we're still learning about Taylor. And then the songs themselves, in my opinion, are just good. The instrumentation on this album, the instrumentation alone, even we could take out all the lyrics and all the singing, and I feel like I would still press play on this album because I like the instrumentation that much. I feel like it is so considered. I feel like it is so full. If you don't like the sounds and the way they are sounding from this album, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't. You and I, we are on different planets, okay? So the instrumentation works for me. The lyrics work. No, I don't think it is Shakespeare level poetry most of the time, but I also don't think it's the AI slop some of y'all are pretending it is. I think you're reaching. I think the lyrics rise to the occasion they need to rise to for the sounds that we are hearing and the pop album that she is making. And if you want to hear more on any of my thoughts on the actual songs on the album, as I said, check out my podcast. Check out my TikTok. Now let's get to part 2. Now I started off this video by saying Taylor Swift is exactly who you think she is. And I think that is the problem because I think there is a pretty wide chasm for some of you between who you now think she is and who you previously thought she was. And I think that chasm closing is what is causing some of the consternation. But for me, this album has not revealed anything about Taylor that I did not already know to be true. And therefore, I am able to just listen to and enjoy these songs for what they are. So what I mean by that is, number one, so many people saying that this is a cash grab. Taylor clearly just cares about money. That's why she's releasing the variants. That's why she put the movie in theaters, even though it wasn't a movie and it was just lyric videos. That's why she's selling her voice memos, so on and so forth. Folks, we knew this about Taylor. We knew she is about these coins, these dollars, and these cents. In fact, it is actually confusing to me that anyone feels that more so about this album than any other album. Now, I've been a Swiftie for 2 years. This is my second album release. since becoming a Swiftie, but I did pay attention to the other albums she released. I feel like she's doing what she's always done. From my vantage point, I've always seen the variance. From my vantage point, I've always seen, if not selling the voice memos, selling other things, selling merch, keeping it going, releasing a variant, 4 weeks out, 6 weeks out, 8 weeks out, whatever it might be. All of this looks very similar. So I don't know what makes it more cash grabby this time, right? And this is why I think maybe what makes it feel more cash grabby to some of you, if I'm understanding some of the commentary, is that you don't like the music. See, but if you liked the music, then it would just be her doing what she's always done. It feels like a cash grab to you because you don't like the music. And so you're sort of working backward and saying, oh, the reason I don't like the music must be because Taylor is now only focused on the money. Whereas before she was focused on the art. No, there's no reason to think that. I think we can decisively conclude she's always been about the money and the art. She's always been about both. You don't accidentally become a billionaire, folks. It does not accidentally happen. It happens purposefully. You got to work at it. And so you not liking the music is perfectly fine. Art is subjective. Taste is subjective. But I think to hear the music, to realize you dislike it, and then work backwards into it must be because she's suddenly money hungry. No, I don't think Taylor is any more money hungry than she was in 2024, 2023, or 2017. The other feedback I'm seeing from a lot of people is the music feels tone deaf because Taylor really isn't offering any form of commentary for any of the bajillion terrible things happening in our world and in our country right now. Here's the thing. Again, it's confusing to me that you thought Taylor might offer up some form of a political commentary on this album when we have not gotten political commentary from Taylor quite literally since Miss Americana. And Miss Americana was damn near a decade ago. I think she was having a moment, or, I've seen some people say it was because she was on the heels of her cancellation, where she really did want to be more politically active and vocal. But that moment has passed, and it didn't pass in 2025. I mean, we are talking about years of Taylor staying nearly completely silent on so many issues. She's had a bajillion opportunities to speak up and speak out about so many different things. She's never said anything about ICE and immigration raids. She's never said anything about abortion rights being taken away, as far as I know. She's never said anything about Palestine. She's never said anything about people's voting rights being taken away. She's never spoken out for the transgender community and all their rights being stripped right now. So I don't know why we would think this album, titled The Life of a Showgirl, would be when Taylor would decide to pop out and show them. Pop out and have her, MLK moment. I just, again, she is who you think she is. She is a pop star focused on making pop music, selling her album. She is that. But she always was that. And so I feel like what's confusing is the disconnect. Listen, in the short time that I have been a Swiftie, I will say it has become very clear to me who Taylor Swift is and who she isn't. She is an incredibly gifted songwriter. That is undeniable. No one can take that away from her. She is an incredibly hardworking performer who cares deeply about putting on a fantastic show for her millions and millions of fans. She is also capitalist in chief. She is also someone who would not trade the Cartier for someone she can trust. She is also someone who feels perfectly happy posing in pictures with known Trump supporters. She is someone who as far as I can tell, thinks that the only thing worth calling Maddie Healy out for is ghosting her and doing too many drugs, not being a racist, terrible human being. These are all things I have come to accept about Taylor, and therefore knew going into this album. Like these are things I knew, and therefore wasn't looking for this album to reaffirm some set of beliefs about her I didn't hold. And it just feels like, based on some of the commentary I'm seeing, and I mean the commentary I'm seeing from other Swifties, and I think more long-term Swifties, people who have been in the Swifterhood longer, it feels like what's happening is you're coming to terms with the version of Taylor Swift I already knew. And maybe I just had to get there quicker. I mean, a lot of this, I think we sort of knew just even in becoming a Swiftie. So there wasn't this disconnect. I didn't have to clear this chasm that I think some of you are having to clear of, this is who I thought she was, this is who she actually is. I was already over here. I know who she is. I think she's an incredible songwriter. I think she makes amazing music. I think she put out a fantastic pop album, and I think she's flawed. I think she's a human being. I think she could speak out on more important issues of our time and chooses not to, for whatever reason. Maybe it's her personal safety. Maybe it's because she doesn't really want to put her finger on the pulse. Maybe it's because she's in love and maybe it's because she doesn't give a damn. It is a choice, though. It's her choice to make. It's her choice she has made to not speak up on any of these issues. She is someone who's going to put out 8, 10, 12 different variants of an album. She is someone who's going to sell a ton of merch, most of which is not, I'm not going to say poorly constructed. It's constructed like merch, and she's going to make a bunch of money doing it. She is someone who is going to be focused on the dollar as well as the art. She is someone who is going to consider herself to be an underdog and the aggrieved party, for as far as I can tell, for as long as she lives, despite being, the most famous person in the world and one of the wealthiest pop stars in the world. She is all of these things. She is flawed. That doesn't make her the terrible person I think some people are painting her out to be. And I think if that means you're no longer a fan, that is okay. It absolutely is okay to not be a fan of someone who isn't speaking out about the issues that you think are important, someone who is being photographed with Trump supporters, someone who is selling 12 variants. You're allowed to not be a fan and to revoke your fan card for all of those reasons and for much less, right? But I think what's confusing for me is pretending as though this album is what made all of those things true, right? I think some of you just don't like the music, and as a result, you are opening your eyes to all of these things that have been true. And so now you just sort of have a choice to make, knowing that Taylor Swift is who you think she is. Are you still a fan? Right now, I am. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to always be a fan. I'm not saying there's no line that Miss Swift couldn't cross. That's like a double, triple negative. What I'm saying is there is a line she could cross, I'm sure, for me. She hasn't crossed it yet to the point where I'm like, I'm not going to be a fan. Does that line exist? I'm certain it does. I pray we never get there. But for me, we aren't there. And so I'm able to just enjoy this album for what it is, which, in my opinion, is an incredibly well-crafted pop album that I do think will stand the test of time. And I do think people will probably be talking about far more positively, even in a couple months' time, certainly in a couple years' time. I think it's going to age well. I think it is very well produced. I think the vocals are fantastic. I think it's a lot of fun. And I just don't have the consternation so many of you have around it, because I'm clear on who Taylor is. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.